Yes, hello everyone. I'm Stephen Stern, host of Senior Counsel here on LI News Radio and a partner in the law firm of Davidow, Siegel and Stern. Davidow, Siegel and Stern, where the best advice leads to lasting solutions. And it really is a great pleasure for me to welcome our guest today here on Senior Counsel. We're speaking with Maxine Hartley. Maxine is the managing director of Smooth Transitions of New York. Maxine, it's great to have you with us today.
Thank you. Great to be here as well.
And we're talking about so many of the important things that you personally bring to an important effort here to help older adults and their families here throughout New York. But before we talk about the important services and the passion and the vision that you bring to this important effort, maybe you could tell us just a little bit about yourself, your background and your skill set, and why you think that's so important to the effort behind Smooth Transitions of New York.
Sure. Happy to do that. My background is basically that of a headhunter. I'm used to finding talent for major corporations and placing people in jobs that the company would be happy with and they would be happy with themselves. So that's a talent that I bring. And I also helped people along the way with career strategies so they could situate themselves in the correct positions. I retired. I had a company, sold a company, and it was a successful company in Manhattan for over 30 years. And I got bored being retired. I know now I'm not meant to be retired. And as a hobby, I started to renovate people's houses just because I knew how to do it, having renovated two of my own. And someone I knew here on Long Island had a house, beautiful house, but it was collapsing basically. Elderly gentleman in his 80s and didn't have COs in the house. And I was asked to help him as a favor, just to do it. And I did. And I used my headhunting skills because I really didn't know anybody in Manhattan. I'm from Danbury, Connecticut, and Manhattan myself. Long Island is not where I've ever hung my hat, so to speak. And did a very successful job in renovating the house. And I mean renovating inside and out. Put in driveway, chimney, roof, brickwork, portico, floors, you name it, central air conditioning, I did it. And got the COs on the house. And while I was doing the work, having hired very talented people at great prices who were just wonderful to work with, I interviewed about 200 or so people to do this job. I just put on my headhunting hat and approached it as I would a business project for a corporation. Mm-hmm. And people started to call me and ask me for help. And a lot of them were senior citizens, people in their 70s, 80s, some in the mid-50s. And I thought, I have a business here, and I didn't know what to do with it. Just had no clue. And when I was showing the house to some real estate agents, one real estate agent said, there is somebody you need to meet. And his name was Stephen Stern. And Stephen contacted me, and we had a breakfast meeting at the Hyatt here in Long Island. And there was tremendous synergy because unbeknownst to me, Stephen and his company, Davidow, Siegel and Stern, were launching a business called Smooth Transitions. And it was just a perfect fit because I had the connections of people who could do good work. Mm-hmm. I was already familiar with working with seniors. And truthfully, it just made my heart feel good. Instead of working with people who were young and vital, who had the means and the wherewithal to do this kind of work, I found that the older adults didn't know how to start. They didn't know who to call. They were leery of inviting people into their homes who they didn't know, because there is a fear factor there when you invite somebody in. And they trusted me. Mm-hmm. And I thought, this is a great service. And I like to do work where I feel I have a good purpose in my life. And as an older adult myself, don't want this to be announced too far, but as an older adult myself, I really understand the needs of an older adult, and I recognize how I could help them. And I was just delighted when Stephen and his firm invited me to join them in Smooth Transitions, because we could do great work for people who need it.
And we're delighted to be working together with you.
Thank you.
Because you bring, as you point out, not just a professional background and not just a skill set that is important in terms of choosing the right person or organization to provide an important service. But this is what you say. You say that not only can you guide someone and their family through a transition, not only can you help them do it most cost effectively and productively, but most importantly, safely. Maybe you could speak to that element behind what you're so passionate about.
Yes, safety is a big factor. When I say I interviewed over 200 people for this just one house alone, I wanted to know that I could trust these people, that they had great references. And many times I actually went to the homes of the people they had done the work for. So I could see for myself they did great work and speak to people and look at them eye to eye. I like to see people's faces when I interview them, not on the phone. I like to actually see them. And when people were joyful and happy to invite me into their home so I could see the work and I could ask them the questions, then I knew I was bringing in the correct person. So safety to me is critical. I want people to be punctual. I want them to, I like to say in my own business universe, under-promise and over-deliver, not the other way around.
Yeah.
I want the price to be what the price is when they stated it. I don't want any surprises. So I'm a tough taskmaster when it comes to hiring people because my expectations are high. And that's what I bring when I work with somebody. Anyone who I say can do the job and do it well at a certain price point can. It's not a question mark for me because I've already vetted them.
Right.
And that's critical to me.
That is the critical element. You're listening to Senior Counsel here on LI News Radio. I'm Steve Stern, partner in the law firm of Davidow, Siegel Stern, Long Island's elder law, special needs and estate planning firm. If you have elder law and estate planning questions, feel free to give us a call at area code 631-234-3030. That's 631-234-3030, or you can get us on the web at www.davidowlaw.com. And we're speaking with Maxine Hartley. Maxine is the managing director of Smooth Transitions of New York. And so, Maxine, as you point out, some of the toughest thing for an older adult, or maybe the older adult and his or her family, is getting started, is maybe recognizing that perhaps it's time to right-size their home, whether it's because of some type of an injury, some kind of an illness, or just a change of scenery. They want to move closer to family. Maybe there is some compelling reason to have to make a move. And so Smooth Transitions was created to guide an older adult and his or her family through that transition, which, as we know, can bring great physical demand and even great emotional demand. So, but getting that starting point and knowing how to be able to organize what would otherwise be a very overwhelming situation for an older adult and his or her family. I mean, that's really the critical point and really what you're so passionate about.
Yes, because there are many moving parts to making a transition. People don't realize how many moving parts there really are. And I like to lay it out as I would a business plan, look at all the moving parts, figure out the sequence, and then execute the sequence. But there is a sequence, and there is a time frame, and it has to be orchestrated. And I think many older adults, not all certainly, really do find it overwhelming because they've never done it before. And because I've done it so many times in my personal life and helping others, I understand the sequence and basically who to call to make it happen. And that's where it's important. Otherwise, it's kind of hit and miss when you've done it or doing it for the first time, especially if you're in your 80s.
Right.
That's a big load to carry. Even if you're sharp as a tack, it's a big load to carry all by yourself.
And so, of course, along with that comes the stress and anxiety of a difficult situation and makes a move more of a negative than perhaps the positive that it can and should be.
Well, most people don't like change, even when it's good.
Right. And that's what you guide them through. We're going to return here on Senior Counsel, speaking with Maxine Hartley, Managing Director of Smooth Transitions, when we return here on LI News Radio. Back in a bit. Welcome back to Senior Counsel here on LI News Radio. I'm your host, Stephen Stern, partner in the law firm of Davidow, Siegel Stern, Long Island's elder law, special needs, and estate planning firm. If you have questions regarding elder law, estate planning, feel free to give us a call at 631-234-3030. That's 631-234-3030. Or you can get us on the web at www.davidowlaw.com. That's www.davidowlaw.com. And we continue with our conversation with my friend and my colleague, Maxine Hartley, Managing Director of Smooth Transitions of New York. And Maxine, we're talking about when an older adult and quite frankly, his or her family are going through a transition along with them. There's a need to start in the right way. There's a need to get started in the right place and develop a plan, and to do that with someone who they trust is going to take them through that process relatively quickly, perhaps cost efficiently, and most importantly, safely. And so you could speak to some of these specific services that Smooth Transitions offers and why that's so important as an older adult goes through a transition and right-sizing where they live and perhaps how they live going forward.
Absolutely. First, I'd like to mention the term right-sizing. Right-sizing, to me, I don't like it when people refer to people downsizing. Downsizing is just the wrong term. You're not going down in life. You're really just moving into something more suitable for you, whatever stage of life you're in. So I call it right-sizing because that's the accurate term. You're just making the right size move for where you are in your life currently. The things that I like to do, I just put my business hat on and I go through all the things that need to be done in the order they need to be done, and then orchestrate everything. So I'm there during the entire process. I'm managing it. I just don't give you a telephone number and say, call. I'm there. I make the call. I orchestrate it. I manage it. So this ranges from you can have your house cleaned in preparation for leaving so you can sell it. You can make repairs done so it is sellable. You could do the same thing on the reverse side in your new residence. You can have it prepped and painted and look beautiful and repair anything that needs to be repaired and cleaned. So you could leave your house in good shape for sale or rental, and you can move into your new residence and it's in move-in condition. Then when you're looking to make the move, we have to go through all of your items. We call it your household treasures because they are. You've accumulated them over a lifetime. So we help you sort through everything, organize everything, and work with you to make decisions. What do you want to give away to charitable donations? What do you want to ship to your children? What do you want to be hauled away that you no longer need or want? That takes time, and it's emotional because people now have to go through a lifetime of what they've acquired. But it's very cathartic, and you have somebody by your side to help you make really good, sound decisions. And if you're not sure about anything, we can always put it in storage so you can make that decision later on. We don't want anyone to make a decision because they're feeling pressed to, but it's very easy once people get started to really sort things through and organize them. Then we would have people come in and pack everything up and send it to the new residents and then unpack everything, because packing is backbreaking work. Mm-hmm. And you want people to come in who are sound, who will take your fragiles and make sure they arrive in one piece. And unpacking is just as stressful. So we're involved in that and the actual move itself. We're present when the movers come in. We see what they're doing. We have an inventory. We're there when they arrive at the new residence and are unpacked as well. And then there are the small little items, changing utilities, calling the telephone company, letting everybody hook you up to cable before you arrive. Mm-hmm. People don't realize, when I say there are a lot of moving parts, indeed, there are a lot of moving parts. And it's just nice to have the list and check them off as they take place. People feel safe when they know things are done in an organized way and they have control of it. So let's say they don't need us for packing, or they do, but they don't need us for unpacking. They can use us in any way that they deem is how they want to use us. So we're not coming in and saying, this is what we do when you have to use all of our services. We're saying we provide all of these services, but you can pick and choose what service you feel you need.
So it's really going to be tailored to everybody's individual situation. And I'm also sure that that could perhaps change over time as you're guiding an older adult or his or her family through the process as needs arise. And you bring up an excellent point that there are so many moving parts and there are so many things that those who are moving don't necessarily think about in the beginning of the process that become very evident towards the end of the process. And to really help with a smooth transition, those things need to be done many times in advance as well.
Correct. For example, in a new residence, you have one set of keys. Well, perhaps we should make a couple of sets. Mm-hmm. In advance. You can give it to your children or a good friend. It's the small things that make people feel relaxed at the end, and they don't necessarily think about it. And it is shifting sand. Sometimes they just say, I can do this myself, and then they start and they say, I don't want to do this myself, or I can't do this myself. And then we can step in. But they have somebody to guide them through the process. And this is really based upon my headhunting days. People would come in, they wanted a position. You'd have to teach them how to interview, how to negotiate, things they never thought about. They wanted a particular position, but they didn't understand there were a lot of pieces to how to network. So I'm just translating what I know how to do from headhunting into this business because it's the same.
It applies very well.
Correct.
You're listening to Senior Counsel here on LI News Radio. I'm your host, Stephen Stern, partner in the law firm of Davidow, Siegel Stern. We're speaking with my friend, my colleague, Managing Director of Smooth Transitions of New York, Maxine Hartley. Maxine, if listeners have questions for you, want to find out more about Smooth Transitions of New York, they can contact you how?
They can contact me in several ways. The best way is via the phone. Because I'm a particular fan of the phone because questions come up during a conversation that can be addressed. So the number to reach me at is 631-761-5371.
And many times going through the process of a move, of a right side for an older adult, falls on perhaps the older adult himself or herself, but many times it's up to the children to help coordinate. And so I have to believe that children who, of course, want to be part of the process, who want to help, many times are just not able to, whether it's because of where they live and geography or because they're so busy running around and taking care of their own lives, their own children perhaps, and their own work responsibilities. So working with children of older adults becomes very important here. Yes.
Case in point, when I first spoke about this older gentleman who I was helping renovate his house, he has 2 children, and they're both wildly busy. They travel all the time, and they have children that keep them busy. So they needed me to do this for their father. because they couldn't allocate the time. They couldn't allocate the time consistently, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And they couldn't be there when the work had to get done. They couldn't be there to negotiate. They couldn't be there to interview. But they're both close by him. One is in Long Island herself, and the other person is in Westchester, not far away. But they couldn't do it because they were traveling all the time. And so the children don't have to be necessarily out of state.
Right.
They can just be too busy, because this is a process that is time consuming. And so I'm dedicating my time through this business to do it.
And it's not just consuming in terms of time, but consuming in terms of the stress and the emotion that comes with it as well. And certainly not every child is equipped to manage that process.
That's true. I respect older people a great deal. As I said, I'm an older adult myself. There's a history there. They've lived long lives. They have a story to tell. I like working with older adults. Some people like working with children. I like working with older adults. I understand where they're coming from, and I'm there for them, and they know I'm there for them.
And Maxine, again, if listeners have questions for you regarding smooth transitions, they can contact you how?
You can contact me at 631-761-5371, or you can email me directly, if that's your choice, at Hartley, that's Hartley, at smoothtransitionsny.
All right, Maxine, thank you so much for being with us today here on Senior Counsel. We look forward to speaking with you next time.